Hey everyone, it's Kabir here. In today's session, we are going to see the concept of types of component. Means we are going to understand what are the types of component. As we have discussed in last session, how to create a component. So in React, we can create the component in two ways. And the first way we have saw nothing but functional component. So we are going to create the component in two ways. The first way is nothing but your cool. The first way is nothing but your functional component. The second way is nothing but class component. Nothing. Functional component is going to like follow your functional procedure, whereas your class is going to follow your class-based architecture, right? This is the two things. As we are going to see how to create both the components in both the ways, right? So let's start with the functional component. So let us go to VS Code. So this is a project I already created so that it will be very easy for us because it takes a time, right? So I have created a project. It's like functional class application, right? Done. Now here I have created one folder like components as we have did in the last session. Cool. Now here I'm going to take I'm going to create functional component. So let us create a functional component. How we have to create a functional component? Just right click, new file, and just give the name like functional. So let us give capital F, functional component dot js. Cool. Now the first statement should be import of your React library. Import React, right, from React. As it is a functional component, so how can we define a functional component? A functional component is a simple JavaScript function. Okay, let's create a function. So this time let's go with the arrow function. So how to create the arrow function? Const functional component, right, equals to, and this is your functional component. So what is a component? Component is a simple JavaScript function which is going to take an input as a props. Okay, it took a props and it is going to return some UI. Okay, it is going to return, fine, return UI. So let's create a UI. So let's create some card kind of UI. Okay, let's give some CSS to it. It will look good. Okay, I'm going to take one div. Okay, I'm going to write everything here. So here I'm going to take one more div and I'm going to give the class name equals to card. We are going to create a card. Okay, fine, and I'm going to take one more div and just class name I would be giving something like card body, and we will be writing the CSS for this one so that it looks like exactly like a card. Okay, now here let's like h2 I'm going to take, and we will be saying it's a functional component, and let's take p. Okay, here I'm going to take something like lorem, and 30 is good. Okay, tab, yes, I got lorem 30. So this is what the function component is. Let's save it and let's go to our terminal. So before going that, first of all, we have to display this particular component inside our app component. We have to keep. So for that, first we have to export it. So how we have to export default and our functional component. Okay, cool, we have did. Now just come to your app.js, just remove this header part. Let's remove this everything header part. I have removed. Now I wanted to like keep my component, my function component in app component. So for that, so if I wanted to do something like that, first of all I have to import the functional component. So okay, import your functional Okay, functional component, right? Now from I have to give the location of my file dot it's in components and go to your functional component. That's fine. Okay, now let's come here and just write it in the format of your tag. Functional component self-closing tag. Save and go to your terminal, and we have to do something. Okay, npm start. So let's see how the output is going to look like. So this particular UI is without the CSS. Now I want to construct a card. So for that, first I have to create the CSS, right? CSS file. So I'm going to take one folder known as CSS underscore files. Means all the CSS file we are going to store here, right? Now in this folder, I wanted to create one CSS file. So how can we create? So CSS file, the dot CSS. That's pretty simple, right? Now we have took the two classes as card and card body, right? So let us go and write for card. How can we dot card? Done. So now it is happening something like that. Now I wanted to decrease this width of this div. So I want to give one fixed width. So for that, what I have to do? Just go to your VS Code, just write width property with, I want to give something like 300 pixel, right? Now just save it and just go to your browser. Okay, now we have wrote it. Like now I wanted to use this CSS in my this functional component. So first I have to import it, right? So import and give the your file location. It's nothing but go to your CSS file. That's it, and just save it. Now it should appear. Yes, now it is decreased to 300 pixel. Now I wanted to give some box shadow, right? It will look good. Let's design something. It's just designing part. Okay, I hope everybody knows how to write the CSS. What is CSS, right? Let's take something like box shadow. Okay, and it should be something like 30 pixel, and let's take some color like hash something 45 27 and dv. Okay, let's see how it would be happening. Just yes, something you're getting like shadows like bluish. Okay, that's cool. Now let's make border radius. Border radius would be something like, let's take something 13 pixel. What do you say? How it looks? Yes, now it is looking a little bit good, but I wanted to take some margin as well, right? So let's take something like margin would be something like one, how much we'll take? 30 pixel we will take, and we'll take the padding. It'll be like 10 pixel. That's pretty cool. How it is going to look? Okay, this is looking nice. Now let's give some background color, right? Background. Let's take a linear background, and the spelling went wrong. It's a background, then it's a linear ingredient. I'm going to use something like some color 80 degree, then comma, let's give some RGB, and I'm going to use something like 72 comma 82 comma 92, then give one more RGB, and let's try to give something like, let's give simple. That's cool, pretty cool, right? Let's see the design, how it looks like. And when it is going to come to your browser, Oh, that's looking nice, but it's in a black color. Let's change the text color. Okay, so for that, what we'll do, we'll go to the app.css. As it is inside an app, like all the cards we will be creating, like we have created a function component card. Next, we will be creating class component card, and I want all the letters inside that particular, like all the characters inside that particular card should be in a white color. So color, and that would be like, we will take something like this. It's very similar to white. Just save it, just go to your browser. Yep, it is looking something good. uh, Shall we display some date and time in our functional component? So let's display it. So here what we'll be doing, we'll be taking like not here, after functional component, we'll be taking h3. That's pretty cool. I'll be taking date, we'll be displaying date here. And you know this expression is, right, this expression is JavaScript expression. So in this expression we can write JavaScript code, right? Now I will be creating the object of date. Now let's convert this date into local date string so that it can display date. Save it, just go to your browser. Yep, it is displaying the date. Then let's display time as well, right? So again we are going to take h3, and this time time, same we have to do. Just take your JavaScript expression and just we will be writing a JavaScript code. So once come here, just use some space, adjust it properly, create a date object dot, so to local, it's time. This is not, this will be the time, right? So this time it's a time, and just save it. And when it comes to here, yes, we are able to display a functional component. Right now let us create a class component. Okay, so for that purpose what we have to do, like close everything, just close it, no need, this is also no need, close it. Okay, now in your component folder let us create one more file, like we'll be saying something like class comp.js. it's like component, right? .js. Done. So the first statement should be, everybody knows now, import React from React. Now let's change the definition of a component, what we have described up to now. Now component is a class which is going to take some input known as a props, and which is going to return a element, nothing but some kind of UI. But one thing you have to add in the class component, that you have to override or you have to implement one method, and that method name should be render. That's one rule you have to follow. So let's start it. What is a component? Component is a class. So simple class comp. Now this is a simple class, right? Now, if you want to make this class as a component, you have to extend this class from one predefined class. That class name is component. So extends react.component. So now your class is going to behave like a component. So anyhow, I have to export. So let X write the square not export default, and that is nothing but your class component. That's pretty cool. Now we are going to create a class-based component. So we have created a class and we have extended it with the one predefined class, and that predefined class name is a component. In that class, we have one method called render. Now we are going to override this render method. Okay, now this render method is going to return a UI. There a function is returning UI. Here render is returning a UI. So same return, it's a div Now here you can write your logic. So we are going to prepare one more card. So for that we will be taking div, and the class name would be something like same card. We will be using the same CSS, not a big deal. One more div, take a class name as card body. Cool. It's a pretty cool. So let's display our h2, and we will be saying it is a class component. Just we are constructing a UI, right? This particular code is called JSX. Everybody knows it, right? Now we will be creating something. So let's create here also date and time. Okay, this time let's display date and regular expression, and in this expression we will be creating a date object and to local date string. That's what we have displayed the date. In the same way we'll be displaying some, we will be displaying time also. Time colon, and this is the JavaScript expression, new date dot to local time string. So it will be displaying the time, the current time you meant to say, and we will be taking some p, and we will be taking lorem, and we will be taking like 20. That's cool, pretty cool, right? We have constructed a UI. Now it is going to return. Save it and just go to your app.js. Now I want to represent here, but if I'm so before representing my class component, I have to import, right? Import class comp from, right, dot, then it will comes to your components, and this time this is the class component. That's pretty cool. Now when I'm going to write here class component, it is going to come exactly down or downside of your functional component. Just save it. But I wanted to use the CSS, right? So I need to import the CSS file here, and anyhow we have gave the class name same, so not a big deal. CSS. Now just save it and just go to your browser. Yes, we are able to see, but let's keep a beside, like this class component I want to display here. So for that, what I'm going to do, right, in the app.js, I'm going to take one table, right? I'll be taking a table. Table will contain a row. So first row, okay, in first row, first td, and it will have one more td, right? In first td, I wanted to display functional component. So just copy, cut, just display your functional, just copy, remove, and just going to display your class component. Just save it, just go to your browser. Yes, you are able to see functional component as well as your class component, but design is not looking that good, right? So let's make this lorem as a 30 only. That would be better, I think, instead of writing 20. So let's remove this one. Just I have removed. Just take a p tag, lorem 30, save. Now comes to yeah, it's looking pretty good now. Now we have created two components. One is functional component and second is class component. So the summary of this session is we have the two types of component, functional component and the class component, and we saw how to create a functional component, how to create a class component, and we saw how can we give our own CSS. Here we are using without bootstrap, but in future sessions 100% we are going to use the bootstrap. So I hope you guys know bootstrap. Even if you don't know, what I'm going to plan something like, if I wanted to take some bootstrap components in my this React session. So I will be making a video on that bootstrap, what I'm going to do. For example, I wanted to create a card. So I'm going to keep one video how to create a card in a bootstrap, so that once if you know that particular like once you see that particular video, then you can easily understand whenever I'm going to use a bootstrap in React application. So that's all for this session. Thanks. Bye.